Okay, guys, chalo, chalo, chalo. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, are you guys back again? Back again, chat me, to just type it, or are these just your digital identities staying there? Chalo, chalo. Krishna, Pooja, Himanshu, Prashant, Piyush, Afsar. Nice, nice, nice. Many members are back. Good to see. Chalo, let's get started. Okay, nice, nice, nice. जूम का ये पब्लिक पीछे सो भी नहीं रहेंगी, खाना खा रही रहेंगी, एंड दे आर लाइक जूम में तो चल रहे हैं, सीरियसली अटेंड कर रहे हैं, बस पता नहीं कौन कर रहा है. Guys, please take responsibility of your life. Be committed to your own self growth. सब कुछ हो जाएगा. Okay? ठीक है, चलो. Now let's get started, everyone. Let's get started. The time right now is 9:07. Log4J is pretty interesting. Okay? Log4J is pretty interesting. Okay? मजा आने वाला है. Yeah, many people are saying that we are seriously doing it. Yes, I highly appreciate that. Okay, all the members who are really committed and working towards becoming better, understanding all these things, I really appreciate, and know that for your actions, you are going to guaranteed get reward. Life is noticing your अच्छे opportunities मिलेंगे, सब कुछ कर लोगे. Because those who put efforts, he gets nice results. ठीक है? चलो, चलो, चलो. Okay, now अभी log4j तो बहुत interesting है, ठीक है? There is one basic which comes, and then there is something interesting I will show you from my experience of multiple projects, and making it together, it's going to be really pretty interesting. Okay, now chalo, let's get started. I'm sharing my screen back again. Ek do tool bhi we are going to introduce right now for log4j. Okay, first of all, let me share the screen. Similarly, okay, log4j. First of all, it is a logging tool. You can include all these tools, whichever you're hearing the name, right? As part of your resume, you can talk about tools used in your project. Mein ye sab list aane wali hai, okay? So I will anyways give you all those lists already. We are documenting it somewhere. So you can include all those softwares and all that. Okay? It's a logging tool. What is logging? Nothing but simple. In your project, whenever you come across this statement, system.out.println, it is nothing but you are logging the statement. In proper terminology, say you're logging the statement. Okay? Now the thing is, so far whatever we are testing, here it is called as in console it is coming. So nothing but when you do a system.out.println, by default, it logs to your output stream, which is nothing but the console. That is where whenever you do a basic main application with console, so it actually just puts it on the console. Now the point is, in real-time world, console logging is useless because console is temporary. If we just close this, ye logs bhi chale jate, it's not possible to maintain. It is like temporary in nature. Okay, so console logs are not the way to store anything there. It is only for maybe while you're writing small Java class and executing it. So that's how SOPs will work. But otherwise, in real-time project, system.out.println, you should never write. It's a big no-no. You can never write it, okay? Because it goes to the console. Now let's just think you have written very valuable statements. Why do you do logging? So that you can trace what is going on in the application. Okay. For example, yesterday we did the signature. So while doing the signature, what we did, okay, input signature we logged here. Next, inside this validate and process, okay, we logged generate signature mein, okay, we logged, okay, what is the final generated signature. We even did this kind of logging intermediately in the code, okay, and then when the response was going, we have even logged those things. So we do logging for debugging purpose. Point is, your code will work as it is without all these logging statements, but then you will not really know why 2 and 3 did the real 2 and 3 values came. Okay, and you need to know, okay, what is going on in your application in real time, because that is how you can find bugs. So one thumb rule, why people are not able to debug properly. Okay, when you are in projects, bad in debugging. Why people are bad in debugging? Debugging is like solving problems. You have written entire code, you are executing it, the code is not working as expected, and you don't even know what is going wrong. Okay, that means you're bad in debugging. You're not able to solve and troubleshoot your problem. You wrote entire code, abhi fat raha hai, and you're clueless. The one primary reason for being this clueless is you are not logging right information. If you log everything properly, for example, yesterday's example itself, input signature versus the actual generated signature. In this validate method, we did a simple check. Now, what is, you are in assumption, okay, you are passing same signatures, but still always the answer is coming -1 only. Accidentally, you might make a lot of mistakes. In Postman, let's say by mistake in copy and pasting, you pasted the wrong signature there. Okay, and you are expecting the result should come, but it is not coming, and you are like, I coded everything, but where is my result? So if you really want to know what is happening runtime in your application, so we need to have strong logs written which tells us what is really going wrong. Okay, now that is one important need. So you can troubleshoot the application. So write log is required. Okay, write log is nothing but writing something. Write logging required. Many times what happens in the production environment, something, let's say you are in banking, right? You're using your HDFC bank or Axis bank and credit card and all that, or Amazon or something. What happens? Your sometimes order request might fail. Sometimes you made a transaction, but it is not really given to the debitor and all that. Money is stuck somewhere. You call the customer support and you say, hey, I did this. This is my card. This is my account number. This is my customer ID. And I did a transaction 3 hours ago. It is not yet credited. What is the problem? Tell me. Point is, it is one code where billions of users for Facebook, billions of users are using it. Okay. Now the point is, when so many number of users use the same code, you can imagine how many such statements will be generated. In all of that, they need to find you, what happened with you, by churning the logs. The terminology is churn the logs. Churn the logs and find, okay, what is the problem with this guy? And then they go through the log statements one by one. Okay, so first this happened, then this happened. Oh, actually, his account balance at that time was like this. Why the account balance was like that? Because in the balance, the money was there. And then somebody might say, oh, he actually deposited a check in the bank, but it took more time to come into his account. Before that, he tried to make this transaction. That is where it failed. How will we know all this thing? Okay, before money was not there, later on it came. It all happens based upon the right logs. Big systems can understand what is the internal behavior when right logging is happening. And that is where every project needs right logging, and Log4j is the tool which helps us for logging. That's it. Okay. Now, the important thing with Log4j is, or in general practice, right now we are doing everything in console, but console logging is temporary. This is console logging. It is temporary. When the server started, it comes here, it writes there, server gone, and these logs will also be disappearing. As soon as you close it, log is gone. Okay. Now, point is, it is temporary. IT industry, best practice, kya karoge? Put it into a file. Either you can log it in console or you can log it in a file. File will stay there forever. And generally, people have this kind of a convention. Maybe we can write ct-toc-service, whatever is the service name, .log. This is how log files are generated. Okay, this is how log files are generated. Every system, every project will have log files. Now, just imagine there are thousands of users using the system, and every single statements are being written in log files. How much the size will grow? That means it cannot be one infinite big file. Now the problems will start coming, and with Log4j, all the solutions are available. Okay, its concept is simple. Don't log it here. Log it even in the files so that in future, even after 3 days, or let's say after 6 months, banks provide support for 6 months if their data ke saath kuch hai. Okay, or even for years. Sometimes, you know what? Now this is interesting. I was working in one of our project and the client said us, ki, bhai, you need to maintain the logs for 20 years. मतलब 20 साल तक log maintain करना है these logs. Why? Because we have a policy that anytime, even in 20 years, if the customer is coming, we should be able to go to his logs and tell him what is happening with it. मतलब 20 साल तक log रख रहे, क्या हो गया भाई इन लोगों को? And that was crazy. But then there are systems for that. Every single day the log should roll. There should be another file created daily so that each file can be opened properly. And if the file reaches to some certain amount of number, let's say 10 files are written on the server, then you zip all those files, move it inside a different hard disk into production, from where it will be moved on to tapes, so that less costly, but you can store large volume of data, and logs after 6 months will be available in those tapes. Whenever in future a request comes, you will load it back again, unzip those logs and then see it. So फिर बड़े-बड़े processes बनते. Okay, now how the simple things get complicated? Microservices. Let's say right now we are just playing with one POC service, but in our project also we have 3 services. So first, when you make an API call, the request goes to service 1, that makes a call to service 2, that makes a call to service 3. Now the point is, for the same request, logs are generated in different services. How do you debug? Which service is causing the problem? For all of those reasons, you should know how to do logging and troubleshooting very effectively. Okay? Basic cheese concept तो simple है, but in real world it complicates. Okay? Now, how to implement it is again pretty simple. Now, by now, you should already get a clarity. Log4j is also an external dependency. Now, tell me in the chat, whenever there is an external dependency, what is your first step? How do you add external dependency into your system? Abhi 3-4 add kar liye, now clarity should come. How do you add internal dependency? Very good. Mohammad Nazim, Piyush, okay, Mamta, Junaid, right? Pom.xml. Yeah, many people are saying that. Simple. So सबसे step number 1 is in the pom.xml, and this is how you now start getting maturity. Yeah, Afsar is saying go to Google to check what is the dependency pattern. Yes, very correct. You don't have to remember these dependencies. You just need to go to internet, chat GPT to see ke kya copy karna hai. But you should have that common sense. Okay, I need to copy this from here to here, and then what will be the impact? So Log4j simply works like that. Now, point is, only if in IT industry, this is how it works. Only if the name is given to you, in this project, implement Log4j, you should be able to come up with the right questions, what you want to know more about, and then get those things answered and explore everything and even implement it in your project. Okay? So abhi simple stuff karte hain. Yeah, let's go here. Already chat GPT, like, it's a amazing tool, man. I never thought ऐसे कुछ humanly possible भी होता. It's just amazing. Like, it's like a human being, man. It's next level stuff, whatever is happening in the world. Okay, I never imagined this was ever possible, but बहुत ही गजब है. Like, it talks like a human being. It is so smart. Like, amazing, yaar. It feels respect if people are doing this thing. It's really hard. God knows क्या magic बना है, right? So now I simply added this. Okay, how to set up Log4j end to end in the Spring Boot Maven application. Simple बोल रहा है कि भाई add a dependency like this. Next, in your src main resources folder, add a file log4j2.xml. It has given some basic file structure also, and it is saying okay, use something like this to log it. That means in the project now, don't write your statements using system.out.println. Instead, use some way of logging. As simple as that. A class is something, use that, write it. Itna simple. Okay. Now the point is, in our project, okay, in our POC project, we have already done this, but in the start.spring.io, okay, you can go there, you can apply that. You see, you remember, right? We did the start.spring.io. You can start a project from scratch only with web dependencies. Choose Maven here, choose the build version, choose all of this, choose the Java version. Here you add web. And for that project, this dependency will not be included if you generate it and import it in your project. For such project, you can straight away go to first see whether this log4j dependency is already there or not. Okay. So in our project, logically you have so chalo, Control Shift R, pom.xml. You go here, search. Okay. Control F, log. Okay. Log. I'll talk about what these paths are. And then you go. Yeah, there's this Spring Boot Starter log4j. Yeah, Spring-boot starter log4j2. We also have that dependency is already added. So that means because this dependency is added, immediately what should come to your mind? These guys are now asking us to include some Java classes. So maybe they are all available as because of this dependency. Without this dependency, you cannot write this code. This is how always dependencies work. So these additional classes which they are saying, it is all coming from this dependency, as simple as that. Okay. And yeah, that's it. You include this. Next, we need to understand this file. Okay, we will take some time out. In our project also, we have written, it is more evolved version than this file. We will be checking that because here, dekho, kya kar raha hai ye? It's still having code, ChatGPT suggested code only to log it in console itself. At least naming wise, you can understand. Target is system_out. That means console logging is suggest kar raha hai. Then you should ask, no, I want to do file logging. So ask ChatGPT, give me example of a log4j to XML with file logging. Okay. Give me example of log4j.xml with file logging. Because it gave only for console logging. Okay. Now it is giving us more options. Okay, now this is a new XML it created because now you know some basic. Logs cannot be there on console. Now you know the logical reason for that because 20 years tak ke bhi log chahiye. So it has to be there in file saved somewhere. So it is mandatory. Even if your manager says, no, don't log it in file. Now this is serious. Even if your manager is saying, no, don't log it on file, go ahead with console. You should be like, but that's not right. You should be like, how can we not log on file? That it's the right thing to log on the file. That means with your common sense, you need to make the right decisions and not depend on other people to tell you what is the right thing. You logically try to discuss things in your project with the people. If people are making wrong decisions and you feel that's not the right way for doing for the project, you should then start discussing. Even at beginner level, I have seen interns involving to that level. They don't stay dumb there. Jo bhi bolo kar lete. No, they involve, they interact. Why are you saying don't log it on file? How will this happen? And if there is a reason for that, it is good. Don't get into a fighting mode, but try to have a clarity of why you guys are doing what you are doing. It's very important. Again, now यहाँ पे logical यार 20 साल. Now I shared you my experience. 20 years का data they wanted in the file. With that, even if midnight happens, people wake you up sleep, you should say yes, it needs a file. And if ChatGPT is not giving, your next question to ChatGPT will be, "Arey, give me with file." And then ChatGPT has given us a bigger example, and then you can copy this up. Now the point is, what are the steps? Step number 1, add the dependency. Step number 2, log4j file. So in our project also, we go here. Step number 1, the dependency is already there in the pom.xml. Next, step number 2, in the resources folder, we have already created log4j.xml. Okay, that's already there in the log4j.xml. And then it is just saying you use this method, just start working, run your application, and you will be able to see it. Okay. Now, few things you need to understand. Yes, we will do it. Those cheezein to already kar liye. But let's understand this configuration in XML because that carries a very significant value. Dependency का तो कुछ नहीं है. It is so that you can write your Java code where that logger dot statements were there. These statements. Logger.debug, logger.info. We will understand what all that is. But in order to compile this, that is where that Maven dependency was there. But now the thing is, this XML plays a very important role. Based upon what is configured in the XML, you will get the behavior into your system. Okay? Now let's understand. First of all, yeah, all these paths and all that is available. Okay, in this kind of XML is coming from our project related code, which I will be sharing with you guys next week. Full project code I will be showing to you. We will walk through everything, understand that code, understand functionalities of course. This is coming from directly our project code. On the day one of our this CT project, 11th of September, I shared one thing in the beginning. The same application needs to be executed differently on the dev environment, QA environment, production environment, and in your local machine. And for that, these many application property files were there. Now, it could be possible that, let's say, production machine is a Ubuntu machine, and your local machine is a Windows machine. I'm telling you many times production, 99% of the cases I have seen Ubuntu is the machine in production. Ubuntu servers, Linux based, Red Hat based, Ubuntu servers. These are always running in production. Only for MS SQL server database, I saw Windows machine was there in my entire 13 years. Otherwise, it is always Ubuntu. Okay? Fine. Now the point is, Ubuntu machine ka file system path kaise hota hai? If you are a Mac user or a Linux user, the file path of a Linux OS or Ubuntu OS is like /home/user/something. But how is the file location, file system path for a Windows? D drive //xyz//something. Okay, nothing but we have data in drives. Now comes the logical question: a project is there, file needs to be generated. Where will the file go? On which environment it will go? If you run it in local, where it should go? If you run it on the servers, where it should go? So that means this data has to be configurable, and that is where the configuration is available in pom.xml. Just look here. Here, there are profiles. Okay, by default, we activated local profile, and in the local, this is the file path. I think when you check your project also, you will find that log files will be generated in this location because I have hard coded it. If maybe any of you might be a Linux developer or a Mac developer, this path will not come, and compilation and building time itself, some problems might start coming for you guys. But it might not be coming because we have not written a logger. So I don't know how it will work. If you write it, it will definitely fail because these paths are not available. So you should get into that state of real debug. But then, okay, local mein, what is going to be the path? But dev environment mein, what is going to be the path? Production mein, what should be the path? So you need to now come up with these questions. If there is a task given to you, implement Log4j, you should be like, okay, but on the servers, which path we will be hosting these log files? This becomes your question, which needs discussion with your manager, and then together you finalize, okay, this path is looking good, and let's log everything there. Now let me tell you, what we are going to do is, okay, let's say currently this is our workspace. Okay, September CT, this one, and here we are hosting everything. Let's do one thing. In September CT, let's create a log folder, logs folder. And now dekho, right now we have only one service, but in production, there will be maybe 10 services also running. Now it's up to you. How do you want to arrange all those logs? Generally for projects, even though multiple services are there, people try to write logs in one particular location. The reason for that is key. It is easy to search and find. because every service might run on a different path. For example, let's say this is another service. Everything is a separate repository. The deployment path will be different. So if every service generates log files in their local, that will be a problem. So we are trying to decide key all the logs will come to maybe one place called as logs. And inside that, you can put every service name as a subfolder, and inside that, that log will be happening. Okay? So the thing is, just remember here, okay, it's again depends upon the project. This is one, okay, have one common log location where all the service logs would be available. When we discuss project, then we will do, this is the common location. Let's say in this location, you can create .service one slash all the xyz.log file. Similarly, this will be the second service2 and xyz.log file. Then it comes like service3. Okay, so right now we just want to configure everything to be at one place. So I'm going ahead in the log file and making a modification. Okay, this logs I want to check, and generally double slash is required for processing it, or one forward slash. And in this, I'm choosing the service name as C2QC service, and under that the log file will come. And if you really see, this is configured as log4j 2.path. If you really see now, in the other file that we have, log4j.xml, this variable is used. This variable is used here. Okay, log4j.2ka path variable is used in our application, defining, okay, we should use this thing. And even if you see, the same thing is even applicable here. Nothing but it helps you to identify. Okay? Now, there are two kinds of configurations here. One is appender, just at a high level. One is appender. Another one is logger. Okay, appender is the place where you define where the log files should be written. So in the beginning itself, we said there are two primary places. One is console and another one is the file. So that means you need one destination to be console and second destination to be file, which is what is available here. Console appender. The naming is console appender. You can name it anything. Another one is file appender, but the tags are actually talking, oh, it is a console appender. It is a rolling file. Rolling file. Again, every day, once the file should be written, and next day it will automatically roll. By that way, the file size do not increase so big it cannot be even parsed. Fine, don't get into much details, but rolling file name itself is clear. Every day it will choose. And how you can see that? I've already, like, since few days we are playing with this service. It's been more than a few days now. Okay, in my workspace, what was my previous location? 10 September, logs. All the testing which we were doing so far is available here. Just check. Rolling file means every single day a new file is going to be created. It is going to be rolled automatically. And for that, these configurations are available. You just need to set up interval as 1 and modular rate as true. With this itself, it will automatically trigger rolling policy. Every one day, it will roll a new file. So that otherwise, since past 5 days, whatever testing we did, everything would have been available in one single file. But then what if, like in production, thousands of users are using the system, the file size becomes so large, if you open it in any editor, it will crash because big files cannot be opened. So we need to shorten it up. That is where rolling file appender is required. And this simple configuration makes it rolling. And what is this 100? Okay, maximum keep only 100 files. Otherwise, you run it in a production machine. And if this file gets infinite, it will occupy the entire disk space of production. And your server is going to crash because disk is not there. nothing will happen. It will be a standstill. So even second configuration is there. How many number of files you want to apply as well. The maximum 100 we can keep. Every day rolling we are going to do. Okay, fine. So these are some destinations. Now the thing is, when you log something, let's just look it together here. Okay. When you log something in your IDE, where is our console? Okay. We will walk through this, but there is a pattern if you observe. Debug, timestamp, and then something, 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 and then something. Everything is a pattern. Endpoint with object name, then this thing, and then this thing. It's all a pattern if you're seeing. Just see, everything is just a pattern. This pattern of how your logging should happen is configured here. Okay. First, just try to relate. Console log के लिए, this is the console log configuration. First क्या होगा? Level debug. Then a format of this timestamp, which is this. Next, -t is for thread. Which thread is executing? This is that thread. Next, Spring app name. So this is the Spring app name. We have configured it in the pom.xml. Next, there is some trace ID and span ID. It is required in the microservices world. We will come to it later. But this is some trace ID and span ID. Okay, fine. After that, what is there? Okay. This is like, okay, which class it's executing. Next. And then there is a message which is actually available. So somehow kuch to logging ho raha hai, which is following a particular pattern. Okay, we will come to it more about it. But now let's try to execute it and see the results. And by that way, you will get some more clarity because now we will be playing around. Okay, chalo, let's get going. But the point is, logging needs to be done. It should be done properly. Now, there are two things here. I will explain you one by one. I will just comment this thing out. Commenting the first logger. And then there is level debug. Now we'll speak about that debug. I'm trying to make it simple. Yes, all these are okay configurations, but I'm trying to just keep it simple so that we can understand it right straight away. Okay. Simple. Root is going to be the default configuration. Okay. And whenever you are not doing any other additional thing, always root configuration is going to be utilized. There is something called as level. I will speak about it shortly. But we are saying ki whenever we use any logger in the system, for example, ChatGPT suggested us use a logger like this. Use a logger like this. So whenever we use a logger in the system, by default, it comes to this XML configuration. It checks, okay, which kind of logger configuration I should follow. We will speak about this. This is a package-based logging, which we are doing in our application. Right now, I commented it only for testing. Then it will not find anything specific. By default, it will follow on root. And then root ka there is some level, we will speak about it. But we are saying anything, whenever in the project you use a statement like this, it will come here and then it will use the appenders, console appender as well as rolling file appender. Nothing but it will go to the console also and it will go to the file as well. As simple as that. And then what will be the pattern in which it will be logged? Where will be the file created? What will be the name of the filing? What will be the rolling policy? All those are additional information. But basically it says, if you use the statement in your system, based upon this configuration which is available, it will log it to the console as well as to the file. Now we want to use this thing. How do we use it? Let's straight away go to the Control-Shift T. Okay, Control-Shift-T, test controller. And as part of that, let's say we called some method right today. Let's say add get we called only for testing purpose. Now we want to use that logger statement here. So let's go back to ChatGPT. Come here. What is it? It is saying this instruction lena hai. Fine. Come here. Find it like this. Okay. My service dot class. His class name there was my service, so he took like that. So we will choose our class name is test controller. We chose test controller. Next, यहाँ पे it needs some input to control shift O. Okay. What are the package structures? org apache logging dot log4j dot. Okay. org apache logging dot log4j dot fine. And similarly, org apache logging dot log4j dot log manager. Okay, very good. We chose both the right packages. We imported this. Next, what it is saying, use something like this. Let's copy this, put it in the code, add get. Right now we are testing. Slowly we will replace the system.out.println. Let's just test it first, how this actually generates. Okay, only for testing purpose we are doing this, but actually in application we will now step by step remove this and then go here. Okay, fine. Let's go here. Simple. Coding is fully done. Now let's say right click, run as Spring Boot application. Let's say right click, run as V1 clean कर लेते एक बार. In the project we are using it very rigorously. So that is where if you have solid understanding of this, you will know where are your log files going, because for debugging you need to have control on the log files. Build package, it will do a lot of drama. Okay. You see everything here. Now you will start understanding debug, 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 debug. Okay, so much of debug, debug, debug happening. And then there is info. Now we will discuss these things. Fine. And finally, repackaging, it is successful. Right click, run as Spring Boot application. Okay, fine. Application started. Let's go to our Postman. Let's minimize this so we can restore it properly. And okay, where is our collection? Where is our test request? Yes, this is the add get. We called this some time ago. Now we are just going here. Let's put it here. Fine. And now calling. Okay. Fine. It has printed some logs. Yeah, this is the logs. Okay. Just see. Earlier we used to write what? Or right now also it is available. System.out.println. It straight away just prints it, whatever we want to print. But when we are using logger dot, so these statements, logger dot, debug, info, warning, error, these all statements are being written in the same format like other logs. And this format is coming from that log4j configuration. It is this format, how it should be logged. Okay. So now you should understand ki okay. So debugging wise, you should come to root. In the root, it is returning on console appender. Now automatically a question should come, did it really go to the file? If you want to see where it is in the file, go to this file appender, then you check the path. You will understand the path is what? The path is, we configured it into our CT workspace, September workspace. in the logs folder this, and yes, a file is created. Okay, now the point is, if I just want to open this, right click, let's say Notepad++, the full logs came up just with service start. And after that, this message. Yeah, you can see this is a debug message, info message, warning message, nothing but it written things in both the console here, and same thing is also available in your log file, this log, whatever location you choose. Okay, now it is working. Configuration by default. Now comes the question, guys. How are you going to debug these files which are generated in your local machine? You cannot keep opening it and like bar editor and do something here, because it is going to be so much bulky. Open a file, then Control F, search it and all that. And many times you need real time. For example, देखो यहाँ पे ID में, if you are there in ID, what you will do now? Give some enters. If you want to do more testing, you will simply go to Postman, call the API, and then you will see, okay, what are the new logs generated? That means you are much interested in the latest request ke saath kya hua hai. But if it is this kind of a system like OneNote, you have to every time close it, they go reload, close it, reload it. You will not get the deltas very proper. So simple file system based logging is not going to work. That is where, if you are using a Ubuntu or like Mac machine, then by default your terminal itself is going to give you sophisticated tools for doing it. But if you are using let's say Windows environment, I would highly recommend you to use a tool called as Mobaxstum. Okay, the tool name is Mobaxstum. Using Mobaxstum, you can access your Windows environment with basic Linux commands. Okay, you can access your file system in Windows with commands like Linux, and Linux is providing some very nice commands for going through this file parsing and all. So that is the software I would like all you people for logging purpose to install if you are using Windows. Mobaxstum. Okay, log processing in Windows. Not just for log processing, it is even used for deploying onto remote server, let's say AWS or whatever, because Linux commands are pretty handy for doing that. By default, Windows command prompt is not providing those options. Okay, now how do you do that? Simple, you go to this location. Where are your log files? Right now it is here. Copy, go, CD. Now basic Linux commands you need to know if you're working on real projects. Move here, here, here. Okay, ls, the Linux command, जैसे dir होता है, like ls, basic Linux commands required. Okay, basic Linux commands required for you to know when you work on live projects. पहला तो हो जा रहा है ls. Next, whatever. ठीक है. Now the point is, there is the one command which you need to precisely use, -f, and then file name. -f, file name. This is the command. I'll paste this command. Copy it. Okay. Paste it here. This command basically opens this log file the way Eclipse may it has opened it like this. Okay, the way it comes here like this. If you do a tail command here, it opens the file like that. And now you do the testing. Go to your Postman, call it. It starts writing it like that. And then you read, okay, kya hua hai? Okay, debug statement came, info came, warn came, and then this is a message it is showing. All. Okay, yeah, this is a debug message, info message, warning message, error message, blah, blah, blah. And you can access now your file system using this tool, which works like this. Okay. Now, clear, guys, right? You guys are understanding it? Just quickly confirm. Right? You are able to process what we are doing here. Okay, we still have 9 more minutes. Yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, Mobaxterm, I really liked it when I started using. Okay, don't worry. Some people, if you are facing some problem here and there, उसको वापस से video देखो. I know, like, this much of knowledge, for me to get it into the IT industry, it took a lot of time. What we covered in 4 days, that too 2 घंटा cover किए. It is lot of knowledge. It takes a lot of time to really capture all this. So it is okay even if something is going here and there. Okay? Yeah, fine. Chalo. Now let's go forward. Okay. Once we reach to this position, we need now know we are at a state to really understand what this thing is. Control Shift T, test controller. What is all this thing? These are called as log levels. Okay. For log levels, let's go to Chat GPT. Okay. Give the log, give all log levels in priority order. Because I know it, that's where I'm able to type it. कि priority order ये वो कुछ होता है and all that. Just see. There are basically 5 log levels. The most severe one is error, then warn, info, debug, trace. Like this, 5 log levels are available. Okay, that means the way you put it like this, debug 4 is covered. You can even write maybe something like logger dot trace. Yes, there is a trace method also. And then you can say this is a trace. Yeah, it's a proper function. If you just see this काम पे आएगा. This is written in order. Now, what is this order? That is important. Okay, सबसे top error, warn, info. Okay, the least of the weightage comes to trace, then debug, then info, then warn, and then error. There is a priority to this. That is how it is arranged. Trace, debug, info, warn, error. Now, just understand this. Based upon the XML configuration, if you see root level equal to debug, that means all the statements which is written in your code, debug and above is going to be considered for logging. That means even though you write trace, it will not be written onto the file or the console wherever. Why? Because you have defined the log level as debug. If you write the log level as info, then only info and above will be displayed. Below that, wala logs will not be displayed. That means in the code, you have written all these 5 statements. Test controller. Initially, if you see here, Mobaxterm tool, everything came. This is a debug statement, info statement, warning statement, error statement. Why? Because we had these 4 written here, and in the log file, the level was debug. But now comes the question, if I modify it to info, you tell me, if I'm modifying this to info, you tell me how many log statements will be visible. Just put it in chat. How many log statements will be visible? Okay. There are majority saying 3, which is the right answer. There are few people जो 2 में भी चले गए, few people यहाँ. Please understand, if you have written info, it considers info and above. Info is inclusive. Okay? So whatever you have written here, so in the log4j file, if you write the debug here, it will consider debug and above. If you write info here, it will consider info and above. If you write only, let's say, what is the level, like warn, it will consider only that. And okay, if you write only warn their level, it will show only these 2. Okay, now let's experiment. पहले debug में try किए थे. Now let me change it to info. We have already changed it. Let's quickly build this change and let's see it. So that is how your log levels are important. Okay, closed it. Let's say without without building it once, let's try to check it out straight away with boot. Now, I don't want to refer to this console anymore because now I want to habituate as an IT professional to go to these kind of things. Now just see, initially debugs used to be so much debug. Now it is coming so slow, only info statements coming. पहले क्या होता था, a chain of चलता था, right? You need to understand, in production, info mode is going to be available. And that is the reason so many unnecessary debugging logs will not be displayed in the production system. Okay? Understand, production will always run for info. If you understand, previously when we used to run it here, there used to be like so much big scroll. But right now, just see, the console bhi bada nahi aa gaya. If you write a debug here, it just printed only this. If you write a debug, it used to scroll so many beans. Right now, it only printed info statements. That is where in production, it is always going to run on an info mode itself. Please understand, that is another major learning which you need to even use it during your interview. Production systems, prod systems will run on info always. Now let's test it. Okay, let's not much rely on console. थोड़ा सा मोबैक्सटम के साथ handy होते हैं because this is how your IT life will be. Just clicking here, creating. And if you see now, info में you can even see Tomcat started on port number 8081. अभी तक ये बेचारा कभी मिला ही नहीं because debug used to be like eating up the logs. Okay, now it came. It is doing this. Let's just try to hit it via Postman and see what happens. Just see, like we said, even trace and debug is mentioned there, but it printed only info, warn, and error. Now that is how you need to have an understanding in your project, which statements are coming, statements are not coming. That is completely configured based upon how you write this. Okay, now just be aware of this. Root को we have set. Now a twist, guys. Second case we are trying. Focus back. Root को we have set up info. Why? Because it was so many unnecessary logs which were coming, right? They were all Spring related logs which was coming, which we don't want to see. We are very happy to see only so less logs. Okay. Our application, we want it at a debug level because we are doing the testing. How do we differentiate? Spring wale ka kam chahiye, but application you want to debug, maybe trace level also. Like while you are developing system, you will say, hey, I want this. While you are developing your system, you would like to have this. You don't want to see the Spring Boot related logs because their system is stable. What will you do? You need some additional configuration. Log4j, and this is where you can configure this. Okay, here again you choose. Okay, fine. I want this also to be written on console also and file also. Okay, level यहाँ से निकाल दो. It is optional. Just keep it here. Now, what if you say I want application to run at a trace level? Now, just understand, it runs based upon the package structure. All the logs which are inside this package structure com.cpt will apply this configuration. Otherwise, it will follow the root configuration. And this property here, additivity equal to false, is also very important. Tomorrow you experiment with all this. If you do true, after running here, it will even write here also. So drama ho jata hai. So additivity ko keep it false. Next, all the loggers written inside this package, okay, will be written here, including trace and above. This is how we have configured. Let's see how this builds up. Fine, we are done with our testing. Okay, right click, run as Spring Boot. Searching for main. Looks like our ID is also tired. Ayla not responding. Ho gaya tho. Okay, fine, we are done. This is the last trial that we are just seeing. And then we will be closing the call. Okay, starting it. Starting Tomcat service. So info lagane se it tells only important messages which needs to be known. Debug में lot of unnecessary information required during the development time is there. So you have to make a decision which logger statement you should write in debug, which should be written in info, because production investigation, even if you write it in debug, it will not be visible in production. Okay, fine. We'll just repeat the statement again later, but let's just quickly experiment with the attendance and then let's close the call today. Let's call. See here. It gave trace, debug, info, warn, and error. Earlier, when we did it only with root, it gave us info, warn, and error. That means you can have the configuration in this manner. Okay, everything goes for a different level, but your application logs follow a different level. That kind of customization is possible. Also, you can write this rolling file to a different file path. Okay, default, all the Spring and default logs should go to a different file appender, and your configuration should go to a different file appender. You can just copy paste this rolling file one more time, set up to a different file. You can play around with this configuration the way. But ideal conclusions are production system will always run on info. Application logger should be configured the way you want to test. Important. During development, log level would be trace or debug based on need. In prod, only info would be enabled. This is what today's session about. I will be sharing these. You already have this code, but I will share these loggers and all some modifications I did in the session notes. I will just type it to you. But guys, practice se aayega. And then the next thing which we have to do is across the system, wherever we have written system.out.println, wherever we have written the system.out.println, that we need to replace with these statements. Tomorrow for initial 10 minutes, I will talk about that and then we will get into the project. Okay? Thoda sa more touch up is required. Right now, please just mark your attendance. Okay. Big topics. Okay. I can understand you guys are newly starting. Some things might be like pretty heavy dosage for you, but please try to process it. Okay. Let me give you the attendance link. We have time. ये सारा का सारा till Sunday तक master करो, or in fact full Monday, because Monday evening our session will happen. So you have like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 4 दिन तक same concepts, whatever we discussed in past 4 days, you need to master. So you have time, and I'm very much sure 4 दिन में तो हो जाएगा. ठीक है? Where is our attendance, man? Okay, project attendance. Give you the link, copy, take it up. And good to know, yes, there were some of the members saying, right, okay, you guys are putting nice efforts, working dedicatedly. So tomorrow there is call. Tomorrow we are meeting Friday 8 p.m. Okay, Friday 8 p.m. But we are going to launch project. So project ke liye only understanding is required on the day one. Hey, tomorrow there is class. Tomorrow 8 p.m. we will launch project. Please come. Tomorrow is important. Okay, Saturday, Sunday it's off. Saturday, Sunday no meeting. Okay. Saturday, Sunday, you can plan other activities. Tomorrow is project. Why? Please come. Don't mess up that one. Okay, fine. I am giving you the attendance. One second. Code for today is 6666. Okay, guys. Lack of communication से ऐसे हो गया. I did not tell it clearly. Monday गिनाया तो public बोल के ऐसे. तो that's how communication is very important. Communication is not fluency. एकदम fluently wrong communicate कर लिया. कल public नहीं आती. And project is very important day tomorrow. ठीक है? Yeah. So please mark your attendance, everyone. I'm pasting it into our WhatsApp group as well. And project is going to be really interesting. Abhi tak to jo bhi tha, this was the base required so that you can understand project. Abhi jo project mein jayenge na, actual maza aane wala hai, right? You will know everything. IT mein kaise hota hai, code kaise karte hai, how the error is handled, how this is done, that is done, how the design patterns are implemented, why this is like that, why that is like that. Maza aayega. And it is one-time activity. I personally feel, nobody taught me all this thing during my initial 0 to 3 years of experience. Okay? But I personally feel कि once you understand this one time, every project में same concepts apply करने होते हैं, ठीक है? Every project में same standards होते हैं, only functionality changes, but rules of the project remain same. I think forever you can enjoy on that one, ठीक है? चलो मजा आने वाला है, and let's start right from tomorrow. Please mark your attendance. In the WhatsApp group also, I am sharing it up. And have a nice Thursday. Practice it all, collaborate with the team, and make the most of it, guys. Hello. Thank you, everybody. Have your dinner. Hello. Thank you all for writing.